This video was really made as a way to test myself, to see if I had built up enough determination and consistency in my life to be able to commit to a project. I've been meaning to make a YouTube video or even stream for years of my life, but due to complications such as home life, school, theater, my own mental struggles, and me forgetting that I had ADHD, it was hard to actively take YouTube as a hobby seriously. However, I have a passion for this form of media and content, and I made it a promise to actively correct my life and to push myself to doing something that I've always wanted to do. What really pushed me to the limit to making this video was one day when me and my friend KJ were on a Discord call and we looked at out of context clips of Flapjack. He's been having me try to make videos for the longest, as in his eyes, he says that he believes people would be entertained by my comedy, views of cartoons, and my ability to express my thoughts in a way that leaves people at the edge of their seat. I have no idea as to how I'm going to structure this, how I'm going to approach the show, or even the narrative I want to paint for this video, or even if I'm going to make another video after this. Regardless, I'm not going to hold you any longer. Just wanted to give you all a little explanation as a catalyst for this video. Sit back, relax, and enjoy. It's the school year of 2008. You're a 7-year-old boy coming home from school at the end of the day. You throw your book bag onto the floor and go turn on your TV. You immediately flip to Cartoon Network to watch some of your favorite cartoons. It's the new era of Cartoon Network, and you see bumpers and promos of your favorite characters as prototype Funko Pop figures. One of these cartoons stands out from the rest. The name of the show? The Marvelous Misadventures of Flapjack. It becomes such an integral part of your youth that you watch it every day and don't miss a single new episode on Cartoon Network's programming block, Har Har Thursdays. However, there's just one thing. What the fuck was this show? Flapjack is a cartoon about a boy named, well, Flapjack, and his adventures with an old captain named Captain Knuckles and Flapjack's adoptive mother that's a whale named Bubby. They live in Stormalong Harbor and get into massive trouble with the citizens, the constables, and even the sea creatures of the show. Both Flapjack and Knuckles are addicted to candy to the point that their main goal and the biggest adventure they want to go on in life is to find the secret location of the infamous Candied Island. This show stands out from a lot of the others, similar to Courage the Cowardly Dog, by showcasing grotesque and even horrific imagery for a children's cartoon, pushing the limit as to what is and isn't allowed to be aired for the consumption of children's media. Almost everyone that I know that has watched Flapjack as a child has fond and maybe even somewhat traumatic experiences watching this show. With all the jokes, storytelling, and adventures that Flapjack and Knuckles go on, one thing that most people remember about this show are the weird and nasty things that have planted themselves into our minds and won't ever leave. Even me watching Flapjack as a child nearly every single day, I don't even remember much of what happened in the show from my childhood. Again, only things that I can really remember were scenes like Punzi McHale roasting Flapjack like in a rap battle.
You think you're ready for my rhymes? You'll soon be green as envious limes. I see you're not yellow, fellow, but I don't want to make you blue. So get a clue and purple the plug before you played, or I'll arrange a rainbow on your parade.
A lot of the things that people remember of Flapjack come strictly from the first season of the show. There are moments here and there that I remember from season 2 when recalling my childhood, but overall, I don't remember ever seeing most of the show. When rewatching for the sake of this video, it caught me off guard by how expensive Flapjack's world is for one, and for two, how many episodes seem foreign to me that I'm watching for the first time. As I was watching the show, I decided to take notes to keep my thoughts and opinions somewhere safe that I can go back and reference. Maybe as a follow-up video, I'll release these notes alongside the scenes and my commentary of my notes so that you can see my thought process and overall get an idea of what I expected going into the show and how my opinions evolved throughout. If that is something you're actually interested in, let me know in the comment section below and maybe I'll actually do it and even continue on with making videos if this is something that you actually enjoy me doing. The Marvelous Misadventures of Flapjack was a cartoon made by a guy named Thurop Van Orman. I know there are plenty of people in this world who know the names of actors, celebrities, directors, scriptwriters, whatever the case may be. I, however, do not, and I want to very quickly go off script to mention this. I did not look up how to pronounce this dude's name, nor any of the people in this video. If I butcher the names completely, that is why. I apologize, but back to the script. So the name is not familiar to me, nor is any of his work. I checked out his list of credentials on IMDb, and it seems as if he's known for Flapjack, both Angry Bird movies, and helping to write some episodes of Adventure Time. There are other shows and movies he's worked on, of course, but the ones I mentioned were the main few. Something I've known about only recently in the last few years is that Flapjack is seen as the father cartoon for some of the best shows made in the last decade. Shows such as Adventure Time, Regular Show, Steven Universe, Gravity Falls, and even The Owl House, among many others. That's not too important to this video, but I thought it would be important to mention. Flapjack is based off of Van Orman's childhood, where he ran away from home at night to travel to an island. He was gone from home for 3 days and just wanted to have fun adventures like in his adventure books. That led to him creating the first few sketches of Flapjack later on in life, and eventually led him to deciding that animation would be his career. He pitched Flapjack in the beginning years at the infamous Cal Arts, but would end up unsuccessful until he ended up at Cartoon Network being an unpaid intern. That led to him being able to pitch his concept and idea once more, and that turned him from a mid-20-year-old man with debt and possibly homelessness over his head into one of the most influential people in modern cartoons and animation. So now you can see that Flapjack is a show that is very dear and personal to Van Orman, and to further sell this point, he's a voice actor for Flapjack himself.
Hey, that's a great idea! Why don't you just run up all those stairs?
Why didn't you fight back, Captain? You must have fought lots of mean old sailors.
As I mentioned earlier, the three main protagonists of the show are Flapjack, Knuckles, and Bubby. Flapjack is a lovable and sweet boy who goes out of his way to help those around him and in Stormalong Harbor. He goes through great lengths to achieve this and won't stop until he sees the person he's helping satisfied completely. However, he's incredibly aloof to the fact that a lot of people only use him to achieve their goals. And yes, I know I may have used the word aloof incorrectly there, but who cares? Words evolve in meaning all the time and throughout history, and I'm taking it here to mean oblivious. But once Flapjack finds out that he's been used, he becomes very upset and sometimes even vindictive. Like I also stated earlier, Flapjack's motto and go-to in life is to have adventures, so he seeks them out either by himself or to impress those in Stormalong Harbor, or he'll nag Captain Knuckles until he agrees and decides on doing something to have Flapjack not annoy him very much. Bubby is a big light blue whale who is Flapjack's adoptive mother. She found Flapjack wrapped up in seaweed and immediately fell in love with him. She's his guardian as well as his home. Bubby's personality is that of a very sassy and overprotective black woman. Her voice actor, Roz Ryan, is also a black woman. This makes me wonder if Bubby's inception as a character was based off of those traits and characteristics, and they picked the perfect voice actor for her, or did they model and change Bubby's character after Miss Ryan auditioned for the role? This isn't something that I'm aware of, but it's interesting to speculate on. Besides all of that, she has entrusted, very minimally I should add, but has entrusted Knuckles to be the land guardian for Flapjack while he's on Stormalong Harbor and out on their adventures. She doesn't like Knuckles all too much and they have a somewhat toxic relationship, but the two of them seem to rely on each other outside the common denominator, that being Flapjack himself. And lastly, we have Knuckles. He's voiced by Brian Doyle Murray, and there's so much that can be said about this character, but that would honestly be a separate video on its own. He's a retired sailor and captain who dreams of one day making it to Candied Island, and as well as to leave his legacy on the world so that no one will forget his name. As far as other positive qualities he has, that's about it that I can think of off the top of my head right now. He has a ton of negative qualities that honestly outweigh the positive. He is a lonely, selfish old man with narcissistic traits and characteristics. The show uses maple syrup as an allegory for alcohol. Don't know all the time depending on the story that they're trying to tell. And he's incredibly addicted to both candy and maple syrup. He bums around Stormalong Harbor digging through trash to get another hit off of candy, and he drags Flapjack with him. Sometimes even making Flapjack do all of the dirty work, literally for him. With all the negative things I just said, it's not as if he has no heart or soul. He actually does love Flapjack, even if it's hard for him to say it. He can't let Flapjack go, whether it's because he needs Flapjack, because replacing him wouldn't work, or because he genuinely cares and misses him and cares about his safety. Does that excuse any of his behavior? Hell no, not at all. But then again, there's so much more that can be said, but I don't want to make this entire video about Knuckles. There are more recurring side characters that show up all the time, such as Lolly Poopdeck, Peppermint Larry with Candy Wife, Dr. Baba, and so many more. These cast of characters make up Stormalong Harbor and helps tell the story of Flapjack through each of their unique personalities and their consistent interaction with Flapjack and Knuckles. Overall, they hold a more neutral to positive opinion of Flapjack, which I can assume would be because they know he's an innocent child or just a bad influence. With Knuckles, they have more negative views, rightfully so, and generally just don't like him. But some of Stormalong Harbor do have respect for Knuckles depending on the episode. And on the flip side of that, some people in Stormalong Harbor genuinely don't like Flapjack at all. Every character in the show has unique designs that allow you to discern who is who, and there is even consistency between the designs of characters and their relations with each other, such as Dr. Baba's Barbershop Quartet and the twin Vinter brothers of the Sea and Sky. This is very consistent even with art style changes, with Candy Wife being CGI, and then later on in the show with Flapjack and Peppermint Larry making Candy colleague. Van Norman and his team paid very close attention to their characters, which can even allow to develop a fondness for specific characters. But this brings me on to my next point with the animation style and the meaning behind the title of this video. So I must confess something. I originally wrote the script and was done with it, but completely forgot to write this part. I was already done with the final section of the script and reread it and realized that it did not feel full and complete, and it hit me that I forgot to mention one of the key defining traits of this show, which I mentioned several times before in this same video. If the final part shows contradictions towards this section of the video, that means I may have forgotten to recorrect the information due to more research being found. I'll try my best to correct it, but if not, there's my explanation. All my life I grew up not really thinking about the decisions artists or cartoonists make when designing their characters or their overall themes and art style. I'm not an artist myself and I haven't gone through art classes since middle school, so I don't know much about this myself. However, Flapjack has such a unique art style that it would be criminal to not dive into the depictions and inspirations made. However, I would also like to state that I have not been able to find anything concrete as the main source and inspiration of Flapjack. Everything that I state is only a mere speculation to give you an idea as to what could be the reason. In all, the true reason could just be Van Norman and his team doing things to just make each other laugh, which could be considered crude and brash to a first-time viewer or someone with more orthodox views of cartoons. But Thor Van Orman states that some of the biggest inspirations and influences in his art style comes from E.H. Shepard, Ronald Searle, Robert Crumb, and the infamous Fleischer Studio. E.H. Shepard is the original artist for the Winnie the Pooh books. I'm not too sure that I can say this played a huge factor into Flapjack's art style being chosen, but Christopher Robin is a young blonde boy who goes out on adventures with his teddy bear Winnie the Pooh and their friends of other animals. This could be a big decision into making Flapjack blonde and have an animal be his trusted confidant, that being Bubby. That doesn't really tap into the more weird animation choices, but you could definitely connect the dots if you try hard enough from Flapjack to E.H. Shepard. Robert Searle was a satirical cartoonist based and born out of England. When you look at his work, you can clearly see a distinct connection in art style choices, the unique designs, the personalities of the characters that you can see from just looking at one still image. I can realistically look at all of Searle's characters and I can see his work being directly implemented into Flapjack, and it would fit flush with the style of Flapjack and even the humor and story. In order to find these depictions, I use Internet Archive's open library, which allows you to make an account and check out books for a short to an extended period of time online in order for you to read books, articles, and so much more for free. I highly recommend everyone check it out if you can. Please donate to Internet Archive for their selfless generosity in archiving not just websites, but literature, movies, books, and so much more for free, so any and everybody may have the ability and opportunity to experience all these things without limitations. So when using Internet Archive, I stumbled upon Searle's works. As you can see, it shows a list of books that you can look at that document and showcase his style. The first book I decided to open was Dick Deadeye. On the first page, we see a depiction of a woman, and this immediately caught my eye because she shares a ridiculous resemblance to Miss Leading, the teacher of Stormalong Harbor. The more we look into the story, even more characters resemble characters existing in Flapjack, such as Lord Nickelbottom and this man on page 12. Even the interior of Flapjack resembles Cyril's work, such as on page 22. The resemblance is ridiculous, and you can clearly see Cyril's influence on Flapjack. Obviously, things aren't one-to-one in an immediate show plagiarism, but if you showed these to anyone without them knowing it was made by Ronald Cyril, they could definitely think that it was prototype drawings of the Marvelous Misadventures of Flapjack. The other artist and cartoonists definitely impact Van Orman's work on Flapjack, but as I was looking into the art for Robert Crumb, I realized that I may be good and don't need to elaborate more on other artists because the art that this man drew, bruh, I can't even show this. Like, I'm going off script. Fuck it. I'm gonna blur some of this shit so that you can see it. But this nigga here was down horrendous inside of his work. I don't even know what, like, obviously I don't think that Van Orman as a child was looking at this shit. Maybe he was, I don't know, nigga. Like, this has me stunned and I'm like speechless because this don't make no goddamn sense. Listen, I can't show you. I really can't. But if you really want to see what I'm showing you, this is what you need to do. Go to Internet Archive, look up Robert Crumb, look at some of his books, and you'll see for yourself. As does everything in life, all good things must come to an end. Flapjack, after 3 seasons,
Really like 2 because season 3 was incredibly short.
was eventually cancelled. And it's a shame because I believe that towards the end of season 2, in season 3, Flapjack truly found his style and mastered it. And Van Orman with his team were able to produce some of the best episodes the show ever saw in this time period. But if you were paying attention, you would realize that I said the end of season 2. What about the rest of season 2? The beginning. Well, in my personal opinion, season 2 took a completely different approach than season 1, and ultimately its quality suffered because of it. Watching through season 2 was an absolute chore, the lead writers for these episodes being J.G. Quintel and Pendleton Ward. I don't know what was going on, as those two are brilliant artists and have brilliant minds, being the creators of both regular show and Adventure Time respectively. But with Flapjack, they muddied the quality of the show and really made it unbearable to watch. I'm not claiming that's the reason for Flapjack's cancellation, but I bring it up to state that it could have definitely impacted the viewer ratings and added to the pile of straws on the camel's back that made Cartoon Network finally pull the plug on its production. The only thing that I could really find online in order to get an idea as to why it was cancelled was due to the shift in management and the direction Cartoon Network wanted to go. Without looking at any Wikipedia articles and only sticking to some research from articles and interviews I found through Google, Flapjack was aired more towards smaller children, while Cartoon Network wanted to go into a slightly more mature direction. This also doesn't make sense because earlier, as I stated in this video, Van Orman and his team wrote Flapjack to be funny to them, an audience of adults. This would ultimately add to the success of the 2 previously mentioned cartoons, Adventure Time and Regular Show. I think that ultimately it was a poor decision to cancel Flapjack so soon, as it would have been more than capable of fitting into a more mature audience due to the nature of the show and the limits they already pushed. But on the flip side of that, without Flapjack being cancelled, we would never have gotten the modern day cartoon renaissance as we know today. As again, Flapjack being the godfather of modern animation, all creators of wonderful shows we know today were working on Flapjack. I'm not sure how the animation world works, but I'm not sure if the staff working on Flapjack would be given the opportunity to pitch a show and then leave if their pitch was successful. And even if that was the case, pulling members off a show would ultimately change the quality of it, and it would eventually lead to it being cancelled anyways. So truly, it was beneficial that Flapjack was cancelled in order for viewers to be given even higher quality shows. It's bittersweet truly, and I wonder how Van Orman felt getting the news that his show was being cancelled, and I wonder how he feels now with the knowledge that without him, animation, at least Western animation, wouldn't exist as we know today. So Van Orman, from the bottom of my heart, thank you. Thank you for all you've done to give me memories that I'll keep for a lifetime from your show. and thank you for being a genius that laid the way to some of my other favorite cartoons of all time. If you ever see this, which I doubt, but if you ever see this, I can't wait to see what you create next and the impact you will once again leave on this medium of storytelling. Thank you.